All right, welcome everybody, and we are on episode 7 of Nap Chatter. And this episode is going to be called Wrestling with Wilson. And I'm your host, Corey Knapp, and I'm joined by a special guest today, Mr. Adam Wilson, who is the now wrestling coach at the Albion College, the Britons. So, welcome to the show, Adam.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on, Corey, and appreciate the opportunity to sit and talk a little bit about my journey and maybe the situation here at Albion as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. When I first started doing these, I definitely, a couple weeks back when I first thought of the idea, I wanted to get some college wrestling minds on here. So I'm happy to have you. Couple things before we get rolling. Some new music that I listened to. Just one song this week that I liked. Dan and Shay, "Glad You Exist." Real good new song there on country radio. And then I came on last week and said I was doing this every week, and I hate it. But rest in peace to Vincent Jackson, a football player, former NFL player, 38 years old, Pro Bowler with the Bucks and the Chargers. Found dead in his hotel room there in Florida. So a lot of news will come out in the future about that. But just terrible to see at such a young age. But we're going to get going here. We're going to dive in with Adam's wrestling history and some new beginnings that he's on now. So, Adam, why don't you tell the people a little about yourself, where you went to high school, and maybe where your wrestling career even began before that.
Yeah, so I grew up in nearby Battle Creek, Michigan. I went to Harper Creek High School, throughout my time there and those sort of things, and started wrestling really young. Yeah, I think I was probably 4, and my dad wrestled in school and high school and college, and so it was kind of in the family a little bit. And I think at the time he was coaching at like the middle school, I think, and helping out a little bit at the high school, and just kind of tag along to practice, right, and check it out and kind of be around the sport. Like nothing serious at the time, but just kind of immediately fell in love with it. I was probably and maybe still am today a little bit high strung and energetic, and just kind of really liked being able to roughhouse a little bit when I was younger. And so kind of fell in love with it, and started competing at a younger age. I mean, again, nothing crazy like traveling all over the place, but just local tournaments. And so did that. There was even a year I remember where I just kind of took a year off, like, and maybe needed to find my interest. And my brother is still, my brother and I still have a phenomenal relationship. He's probably my best friend in the world. And, he didn't wrestle, but he was always really involved in other sports. And I think I was kind of in that mode, like where I just wanted to try some different things. I think I was 7 or 8 at the time, maybe 9. And, I messed around with basketball, played football, the normal stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Hockey, that kind of thing. But that was great, right? I had a year to kind of step away from it and do some different things. And it kind of reaffirmed at a young age. I think it's hard, right, to fall in love with something when you're
yeah.
9 years old, but I did. And that love and passion for the sport of wrestling has kind of sticked. I remember being young and going to like the Michigan State duels and the Michigan duels, and with my dad and my grandpa, and I just loved it, and that stuck with me. So, and as I got older and got closer to, middle school, maybe 6th grade or so, kind of started getting a little bit more serious in the sport, and um, really allowed my love for it to just take off. I mean, my parents were always super supportive of me, and, provided me great opportunities to compete at different spots, and allowed me the opportunity to chase it, right, and do those things. And um, so when I was ready, they were ready to kind of support it. And I think that time in my life, it was the time to do it. And so kind of took us into middle school and did that kind of thing. And but then I wrestled in high school at Harper Creek High School for Coach Studer. And I don't know, you probably know Coach
Yep.
Dave Studer. And man, I think this year is like his 50s. I
Yeah.
could be off by a year or two, but it's like year 56 or
Yeah.
something.
Been around a long time.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know that, right? Like, or maybe realize it because Harper Creek isn't maybe that perennial powerhouse that like other programs in the state. But I mean, Coach Studer, it's really hard to find better people, right, than him. And so I was really fortunate to wrestle for him for 4 years, and um, kind of wrapped up my career in 2007. And but yeah, so grew up in Battle Creek, wrestled at Harper Creek, and those sort of things. So
What kind of success did you have in high school?
um, yeah, so I struggled. Yeah, man. Um, I was an all-stater. I hold the school records at Harper Creek for all-time wins and all-time pins. Like I had like 164 wins or something like that, and 104 pins throughout my high school career. And but the success part, right, is hard. Um, you know, it's beyond it's whatever now, right? But I think looking back at it, I was after something different than maybe what I achieved. And I think that there's different than, and I'm sure we'll talk about college later and those sort of things, but different than college. Like I came up short in college as well, but I don't have the same regrets, right? Like I think I look back and have some regret about how I went about things in high school and maybe what my focus was, or maybe just my shortcomings, right? You learn and adapt and those sort of things. But I feel like I didn't get to where I wanted to be, and by no other reason than what I controlled. And um, it was probably the best thing that happened to me now as an adult, but that hurt for a long
Yeah.
time. And, so I came up short of maybe what my goals were, but all in all, I think, it's just a successful career, right? I mean,
Yeah.
having some things like that. And I was honored to be added to the Harper Creek Hall of Fame for, my successes, from a wrestling standpoint. And it was great, so, but yeah, so I was, I was all state. I was a one-time placer in high school. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds like we kind of had a lot similar high school career there. I'm right up there with you in the wins, and I was at one time all stater. And that what you talked about there, where you look back and go, man, I could have done X, Y, and Z just so much different. And I think a lot of people think that, and then don't get the opportunity to maybe, I don't want to say change it, but use that to help others. And I think coaching is a great avenue for that. To say, especially at my level, I'm coaching the high school kids to say, hey, look, this is what I did wrong. Let's not make these same mistakes.
yeah, I think everyone, right? No matter what the outcome is, there's always a shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? Like there's always that, because you probably want more every time, right? Even if you're maybe one of the best kids, there's always something that's driving you to be a little bit better or do it different. And I don't want, like, it wasn't like I was a total knucklehead or
Right.
something like that, right?
Right.
But just controlling what you can control and do it the best that you can. And that's something that, I'm just thankful to have been surrounded with great individuals that have mentored me in a way, from my parents to coaches to even teammates, right? And athletes that I've coached since, that just kind of give you a different perspective that you didn't have. But where I say, like, I'm very thankful for it, right? I don't think I would be the coach that I am today if I didn't have those shortcomings. And I know I definitely wouldn't be the man that I am today without a lot of shortcomings and adversity to face in my life. And so while there's a lot of times in the past where I wish I would have done this, or wish I would have done that, or accomplished this or that, now you can look back and be a little bit thankful for it, because it shaped who I am today as a person. And you can, there's things a lot bigger than maybe winning a state title in life, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
maybe that's a consolation prize that I've convinced myself of.
Hey, I'm right there with you. Fell a little short, but so you said you wrapped up in '07, and then you went to OC and starting in '08 then?
Yeah. Well,
or
would have been fall of
fall
'07,
fall
right?
of '07? So were you was OC the plan, or were you looking at some other schools, or?
You know, and I talk to recruits about this all the time, right? And it's my journey was a little bit different. Like I think if we were to flash back, to when I was 16, 15, in that range, kind of starting to think about college, my dream was to compete in Division One, right? Like I think everyone watches, in today's world, Big Ten Network or watches the NCAA finals on ESPN or whatever, and you have dreams about wrestling on that blue mat, right? And you want to be in those big time moments and those sort of things, but I went on my first Division One recruiting visit, and I remember getting in the truck kind of afterwards with my dad, and uh, was kind of heartbroken. Like this isn't for me, right? For a variety of different reasons, and maybe I just wasn't at that level yet, or but there were some things like academically. I just felt like for me, it would have been better for me to sit in a classroom, with smaller numbers. And there were some wrestling things, right? I didn't want a red shirt. I didn't want to maybe be in school for 5 years. I didn't, realistically for me, I didn't want to maybe start as a junior, type thing. I wanted to compete. I
Yeah.
love the sport of wrestling, and I wanted to get my degree and move on from there. So maybe Olivet wasn't the initial plan and those sort of things, but like I said, people that were huge in my life, maybe throughout the entire time, like people like Jared Klein, right? Legendary coach at Olivet, that is all-time winningest coach in Division III history. Like I've known Coach Klein since I was in like second grade, right? And just spending time with people like that. And Coach Hibbs was at the time the head coach at Olivet, was instrumental in recruiting me, and I just trusted him, right, to take care of me, not just in wrestling, but be a great mentor for me. And it was a perfect fit. My dad wrestled at Olivet. My mom went to school there. So there was a lot of familiarity. It was close to home. And I mean, we were the program was at a point to where it was kind of rebuilding, right? And it was a great situation to step in and take some pride in what was going on in the program, but then also pave a new path individually for myself. And so very thankful for that. But yeah, it was that I didn't visit any other non-Division One schools or things like that. Once I visited and Coach Hibbs came out and did a home visit, I knew right then, right? I trusted him. I believed in him. I thought he would be a phenomenal mentor for me in my pursuit, in my goals. So very, very thankful for that opportunity, and loved my experience there.
Did you have him all 4 years then, or did Brandon get in there?
Yeah, so Coach Hibbs stepped away after my sophomore year, and then Coach Brissett was hired my junior year.
Okay. So yeah, half and half in there.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did wrestling at Olivet go? As far as just the family aspect, and then as far as the actual wrestling.
Yeah, it was. The environment was awesome. I think when I look back on it, like there was a lot of things that we accomplished as a team. There's a lot of things that maybe I'm proud of as an individual that were achieved, or those sort of things. But I just think about my experiences, with my teammates and then the coaching staff, right? Like I think I was in a very unique situation to where there was a lot of local guys at the time, like Kyle Lebrecht, was there, and Kyle and I are still friends to this day, but we're friends throughout high school and trained together. Joe Urishis was a guy that actually went to high school with my brother, who was a little bit older. And Joe was my assistant coach in high school for a number of years, and then decided to go back to college. And, we were teammates in school, and just having some of those personal relationships. And then you built new lifelong relationships. When I took fifth in the state, Blair Mellish, a guy from North Branch, won my state tournament that year. And Blair and I, at first it was exciting. Like, man, I get an opportunity to compete with him, right? We're going to be in the same weight class and things like that. But, it quickly turned into he's a lifelong best friend. and so many other guys in there that, and I honestly, like, I'm not joking. I could probably name 30 guys that I just have an unbelievable amount of respect for and had a great experience with them. I mean, seriously, like Sean Misko, who's coaching at Richmond High School now, and just phenomenal people. Kyle Vanderhyde, Jason Brew, Rob Yarmark. I mean, just great people, right? Away from wrestling, take wrestling away. They're people that you want to be around every day of your life, right? They're just
Yeah.
great individuals. And then you go to the coaching staff, and I think Coach Hibbs legitimately probably changed my life in one conversation. And then you get people like Jeff Tarian, who just invests so much into individuals and helping them achieve their goals, and did so much for me as an individual. And then, my relationship with Brandon, right? Like that led into not just my time as an athlete, but also coaching with him, right? And just people that I have a great amount of respect for. And it was an unbelievable experience. Wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you hear a lot about that. I think wrestling more than anything, um, because you're in that everyday grind together, that battle. People come out of it and say, "Man, I've got true family, lifelong friends." And I think the sport of wrestling, and a place like Olivet where everybody on that campus, right? You know everybody, and everybody's it's family, and it's something that you can't get everywhere. I know when I decided to go to Olivet, a lot of it was because it was a small school, and I just felt like I didn't want to be just another number at a giant Division I school. And you got that personal feel, not only from the coaches and the students, but even the teachers did a great job of just showing that they cared every chance they could.
Mhm.
So. Well, so you graduate there, and then what you then started coaching there, but what was that journey? Did you start in admissions working there? Can
Yeah.
you-
So, um, the, I guess my journey is a little bit different, right? When I was in school, like, you don't get a degree in coaching, right? And I wouldn't recommend this to anyone, right? But I changed my degree 4 times in 4 years, right? I knew what I wanted to do, right? I knew I wanted to coach, but like I said, you don't get a degree in that, right? So I had a pretty tough time kind of figuring out, what I wanted to study. There's a bit to where, I was started in business and switched to education and changed my disciplines within education because, teacher to coach and things like that. And then kind of found out that teaching wasn't for me and something that I wanted to do from an educational standpoint. And um, then landed on environmental science and things like that. And that's what I ended up graduating with. But I still, after graduation, I just wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Right. And I knew eventually I wanted that pathway to lead towards coaching. And at the time, probably the easiest transition, right, is to jump into a graduate assistant position. And at the time, I probably wasn't in a place for me to pursue a graduate degree at the time. I did that later on, but yeah. So my first job out of college was working in admissions at Olivet, and during that time, I was a volunteer assistant. Obviously my main responsibility was there in the admission staff and doing things I need to there, but popping into the room a couple days a week, that kind of thing, and traveling when I could with the team and things like that. But that's kind of how I got my start into coaching.
So then what year did you then become on that full assistant there?
Yeah, so there was some time between my end of the days uh, with admissions and then moving into coaching at Olivet as the head assistant. So I did the admissions thing for like 3 years. Did that, started my graduate degree um, at Upper Iowa University while I was working and things like that. And um, but kind of as I was wrapping up that program and right before my wife Megan and I got married, we just kind of had a conversation about like, man, what do we want to do? Like with our careers, with our life, things like that. And I mean, this was probably 6 months before we got married. And for me, I knew like I was starting to really miss wrestling. I think the best thing for me was I just stepped away from it, like from a full-time standpoint. At the end of my career, I need to kind of get away and similar to when I was a kid, I needed to fall back in love with it. And not that I just think I had a tough ending to my college career, again, falling short of what I wanted to achieve. And I needed to kind of have that time to choose it again, right? And say,
Yeah.
like, I want to do this. And so after we had that conversation, it just happened to be that there was a full-time assistant position open at Washington and Lee University. And I was familiar with Coach Shear as he coached in the OAC while I was in school. And, he wrestled at Ohio Northern and then coached at ONU and then later coached at Heidelberg. And so I was familiar there and we had some common connections and it just kind of worked out, so I headed down to WNL and then I was there and then, we moved a little bit closer home and I spent a year at Trine. And then Olivet had, we had never had a full-time assistant coach position in program history. And they had been given one and got the phone call, say, hey, would you be interested? And of course, right?
Yeah.
Closer to home and come back to where I come from and hopefully make an impact on those student athletes to provide for them, in a way that, and I'm not saying anything bad about my experience, but give them a better experience than what I had.
Yeah.
And, so it was a great opportunity to come back. So I came, I think it was like, well, shoot, I was there for four seasons as a head assistant. So, man, that would be what, 2016 season that I came back. So, but yes.
Okay. Okay. So you did that for about 4 seasons and then, you just became the new head guy here at Albion. What was that process like? Just, the getting the call and all that stuff.
Oh, I mean, it was awesome. And I think for me, like the big thing was I wanted to find, I mean, I think every assistant, right? They want you, hopefully you're striving to want to become a head coach.
Yeah.
And, but I didn't want to just be a head coach, right? I wanted to find a place that I felt myself and the family could be a part of the community and that you could take a lot of pride in wanting to be there, right? I mentioned Coach Klein earlier. I mean, he was, I think, the head coach at Olivet for like 36 years. And that's the type of experience that I wanted to have, right? So you kind of want to be patient and find a place that you can call home and kind of put your feet down and say, hey, this is where I want to be at. And so I was really patient throughout, kind of searching for that opportunity. And, when Albion announced that they were starting a program and just kind of where maybe my wife and I were with our family situation and things like that, it was a great opportunity to say, like, I think I can build this here at Albion. Close to home, familiar with the state of Michigan and have great connections throughout the state and, those sort of things. And Albion kind of fits really well for what I believe in for opportunities for student athletes. And so it was great, extremely fortunate to have earned the position here and excited to get going. But it was you get a little bit nervous about it, right? Because you want it.
Yeah.
And,
A good
know,
nervous.
yeah, and you're preparing just like you're competing and things like that. And so definitely pursued it really hard and wanted that position, kind of as soon as it was posted. So, it was a lengthier process and things like that, but really, really fortunate and happy that I've landed here at Albion and, kind of plan on making this a long-term thing here and would love to finish my coaching career here at Albion.
Well, that's awesome, man. I know I told you before, but obviously congrats. And, were you searching for a couple years now or had you really just kind of dove into trying to get that head gig?
Yeah, this is kind of was it. I mean,
Oh,
I was really fortunate to be in a great situation at Olivet. I mean, like I said, a great relationship with Brandon and, the guys in the program that wrestled for us. I love them, right? Like the administration there was super supportive of, me as an individual. And then of course the wrestling program, so it wasn't like a thing to where I was in a hurry, to go. If I was really happy, being at Olivet, but this was just kind of a perfect opportunity that kind of fit me really well personally for what I was looking for, but then also the right time. I think you always think that you're ready right away because you believe in yourself, but
Right.
probably in years in the previous to me getting this position here, I don't know if I was truly ready, but I think now, after some time and learning from Coach Brissett and kind of learning, and you make mistakes and things like that, but you get a little bit of a better grasp of it when you're operating in a program there. And so just kind of had a good situation, and it was great timing to jump on this opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned Albion hasn't had a program since the 70s, right? And now they're firing up not only the men's program but also the women's program. So is it something when you thought about maybe when you're going to be a head coach, wanting to be a head coach at college, did you want to say, "Hey, I want to start from scratch. I want to build my team, my guys, my girls," or would you thought, I wouldn't mind jumping into more of an established program, maybe like an Olivet, where it's got a nice rich history.
Yeah, I don't think it's about where the program's at. I just think it's about finding the right fit, right? From kind of what the school has to offer academically, kind of what the current situation is amongst the athletic department, the support from administration and things like that. Like you do your research about those sort of things. So it wasn't so much about new or existing. It was just about finding the right situation, right? But I say that, and at the same time, the new program was very exciting to me.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, that sounds exciting.
Yeah, and you're we're familiar with each other, right? I like a challenge, right? Like I like to compete, and to me, as a coach, I feel like starting a brand new program um, is the ultimate challenge as a coach, right? Because I'm not inheriting a culture. I'm not inheriting a roster. There's not a current expectation as far as the wrestling program when it comes to working with administration and faculty and those sort of things across campus. And so you can kind of set the bar. But that's a challenge, right? Because it's
Hmm.
easy to dream about how you would do it, right? But now it's time to define it and implement it, right? And carry out that vision. And you only get one time to build something, so you got to set that foundation the right way, and make sure all your ducks are in a row. You cross your T's and dot your I's, and go about business the way that you need to. But so it's now being, I don't even know how many months I've been on the job, maybe 4 or something like that. But um, I wouldn't have it any other way. Now I think for me, it's a lot of excitement to say like, hey, we can still honor our history that was present here in the 70s when we had a program, but then kind of also create our new legacy. And the addition of women's wrestling, while that's sitting in emerging sports status, is extremely exciting to me to provide that opportunity. I mean, wrestling's wrestling, right? No matter which gender. And the the things that wrestling teaches you, I mean, that's not gender specific, right? I mean,
Right.
that's something that just
That's
has good people, being responsible, accountable, reliable, dedicated, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, those are things that are life skills that this sport teaches us. So, welcoming and building a women's program here on campus is awesome to me, right?
yeah.
Have those opportunities to share my passion with a new cohort and build it that way. So, um, yeah.
There's not a ton of Division III programs with women's wrestling, is there?
Exact number, I'm not sure, right? But it's growing.
Oh, absolutely.
It,
Absolutely. And it's got to feel good, that you guys took that step right off the bat, right? They didn't say, well, let's start with the men's and we'll see what you do in a couple years. I mean, to bring them both in like that is awesome. How do you plan on handling that? Are you gonna, are they gonna get you another coach and to
yeah,
help out? And
yeah. So it's going to be a process, right? Like we probably won't jump to full resources right away, type thing. But once we get to going full go, we'll have 3 full-time assistants in the program. And to me, that was the biggest thing, right? Is um, I for a lot of the coaches that I reached out to and just kind of ask for their guidance and serve their mentors to me, and hey, what do you think about this? The big thing is just make sure that you're supported, and um, but it was kind of 50-50 each way. Like, hey, I think it's more successful this way or the other way. And to me, like, having the support is the way to do it. I mean, sure, there's potential challenges, right, with scheduling and things like that, but we're supported here. And at the end of the day, we have full control of the schedule, right? So if right now in Division III and in college wrestling in general, with the women uh, kind of growing and emerging a little bit here, is there's more of a growing trend to have like an invitational. We'll host one next year to where men's and women's compete at the same time in the same location, right? So you'll find some great opportunities like that. But if it's more time for me in the wrestling room, I mean, that's something I'm not complaining about, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good deal. And so it's there's challenges, right? But we're gonna have the support. I'm excited to hopefully later this spring start adding to our coaching staff and get some individuals in here that are eager to grow this program and put us in a position to start being competitive right away.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's so cool that, they're getting to do both. And, not only are you a first time head coach, but you're getting to run, men's and women's together. And I think that's cool. It's got to be a big challenge coming in, for you for sure. But, if, like you said, if you got that support, that's going to, mean the world to you. Um, so, let's say, I'm a high school kid. What are you looking for in a wrestler, I guess, both on the mat and off the mat?
Yeah, also, I mean, first and foremost, it's going to start off the mat, right? I've kind of, to every recruit that I've talked to so far, and those that I'll make contact with here throughout the high school season, is the things that are really important to me is that number one is character, right? I want to build this with people of character that are serious about their academics. And when I say serious about their academics, I don't mean that everyone needs to be a rocket scientist, right? I mean that we're going to have a bunch of wrestlers as well, but we need to take that side serious. And it's time to start our professional careers during your undergraduate experience. And then also with people that just love to compete, right? And have a desire to pursue being great, not just at the sport of wrestling, right? Like if I told you, or if you told your athletes or things like that, like, hey, we're just going to try to be great between 3 and 5 p.m. when we practice, and on Saturdays we compete, you'd probably look at someone like they're crazy, right?
Yeah.
So you want to find people that want to pursue being great and love to compete, and then want to take pride in helping us build things, right? Like, I definitely wasn't the blue chip type of recruit, but man, I took a lot of pride in what we did on my team in college and things like that, and it meant the world to me. And so I want that, right? And on the mat, right? And it's probably not what you think, right? When I go out recruiting, I honestly don't pay much attention to result, right? Sometimes I like seeing people lose because I want to see if they're going to be coachable. I want to see if they're going to be the kid kicking a chair, throwing a headgear, doing things like that, and see how they're going to handle that type of adversity. But I mean, the name of the game, right, is you want to find the most skilled people that fit that type of profile, right? Or have those types of characteristics that are going to be great assets. But it's not just about wrestling, right? I mean, the big thing for me is I want them I want leadership in our program, right? I want leadership that's going to be displayed in the wrestling room when we're traveling, when this group of incoming guys and girls become upperclassmen, they're showing mentorship to the underclassmen and things like that. But I also want that same type of leadership in their academic realm, right? I want them being involved academically. I want them being involved in different clubs and organizations on campus, because I really think your time as an undergraduate is the perfect opportunity to grow your resume. And sport has a lot to do with that, right? Like, if you can graduate being a 4-time letter winner and a multiple time scholar All-American and an All-American and a team captain, that's going to look great on your resume for sure, right? But so is being the president of Student Athlete Advisory Committee. So is being a part of, here on campus at the Wilson Institute, or any of our other, 5 or 6 institutes and centers on campus academically. And, being in the honors program and things like that, like I want it to be holistic and inclusive, right? And it goes back to that philosophy of it's not just about being great between 3 and 5 p.m. and on Saturdays, right?
Yeah.
It's
No.
that all-encompassing pursuit.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, that's great. Yeah, I remember, I talked with, Coach Brissett as, he was, you recruiting me to come to Olivet, and I went, I remember him saying to me, because I lost my senior year, I'm obviously, we're trying to win that state title, right? And I lost first round of states. And I remember Coach Brissett telling me, I wanted to see how you were going to react, right? Everything that I had wrestled for my whole life at that time, at least I thought was to win that state title. And I lost first round. And, I wrestled back and take fourth. And he said, those are the kind of guys that I'm looking for, the ones that can respond, and especially in a big moment, and come back and see how they can do. So I always will remember that. And I think it's, interesting that, you brought up that same kind of deal, like how are they going to respond, when the chips are down. So,
Yeah,
uh,
I mean, look, college wrestling is not easy, right? Like, there's a lot of tough days that people never see in the wrestling room or in the weight room or in a cardio workout, or not even just that, but I mean, there's tough days that come academically and socially and through relationships. And these are young people coming to college and moving away from home for the first time in their life, and that is going to bring adversity, right? And to be able to handle that at a high level is going to be indicative of how they're going to be able to handle their success as a student athlete. And so you want to, find that, right? And see who's going to be able to handle that and who's going to be resilient and want to stay, try to stay on the course, right? When there's a lot of road bumps in the way. And because it's not just about, I was fortunate while I was in college, right, to spend some time around Jay Robinson, right? And working a camp out there. And I remember him saying, like, winning and losing wrestling matches is about 1% of what we do, right? 99% of it is much more than just a result, right? So you want to, find people that want to find success outside of just what people see at a dual meet or at a national tournament or things like that, right? So now, trust me, I mean, sure, everyone wants to find people that can handle all that and win at the same time, but winning doesn't have to happen in high school, right? Like, there's a lot of people that, I feel like I was this way. There are a lot of people that I've coached or been teammates with that just find their success later, right? It's a marathon, not a sprint, so you hope that you find people that, one, can make an immediate impact on your program, but then can also, that you can use the positive characteristics that they do possess and make them a little bit better and improve their shortcomings and put them in a position to chase their goals and be successful in the things they want to do.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, hey, I know you're a good relationships guy. I mean, you talked kind of a little bit on that, and all your guys you're still in touch with and everything. And you had a big reason why one of my guys is now wrestling at Olivet. He's always talked about that relationship he had with you. Going off that, like, what kind of culture and wrestling style are you trying to bring to Albion?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not the type of coach that's going to try to change someone's style, right? Like, I think it's a lot like character in a way, right? Like, I can't change so many years of habit, right? That's gonna, you just hope to evolve that. I mean, I think at this level, when kids come from so many different backgrounds and different coaches and things like that, they have some things ingrained that have been successful for them, right? So you want to take that and tweak it and refine it to put them in a position in areas that are going to maybe be consistently successful at a higher level, right? And maybe that's more match tactics and sure, some of it's technique, right? And those sort of things, but you kind of put them in position there. So it's not like a wrestling style, like, hey, we're just going to wrestle this way, because there's different ways to skin a cat, I guess, if you would, right? Maybe not the best analogy, but that's there's different ways to go about it and to be successful. But to me, the big things that are non-negotiable, right, is that I think there's four things that you have to control. And, I'm not like the smartest guy in the room. I stole this for sure, but it's, you got to control your attitude. You got to, be willing to out hustle and out fight people. And, so if you can control your attitude, your effort, your fight, your hustle, I mean, those things are non-negotiable to me. And those are the things that I hope we can, really instill into our student athletes next year when we start competing is like, hey, don't worry about the result. I want to win everything every time. I mean, I joke sometimes that I get upset if my shoes come untied or something, right? But so it's not about a result. It's just about, let's do this the right way, right? But those four principles, right? Those can go into everything in your life. That can go into your competition. That can go into your relationships. That can go into your academics, of course. That can go into your social life. I mean, everything, right? That if you just approach life with those four principles in mind, that you're gonna find success, right? Or maybe it's gonna be better than it was yesterday, and we'll get there. So I'm not on the recruiting trail thumping away saying, hey, we're going to do this or that from a result standpoint. I mean, I have some expectations when it comes to academics, right? I definitely have expectations there, but I just want to be the best version of ourselves that we can be tomorrow. Right now that's a pretty singular outlook as we're building and looking forward to our first competition season next year. But that'll be the focus, right? It's not a style, but I guess it's more of a mentality that you want to build into young people. But I mean, hopefully those are skills and a belief that they carry into adulthood and into their professional careers, and being the best husbands and wives and fathers and mothers and things like that they can be later on in their career and or in their life, and find success just by doubling down on those four principles.
Awesome. For sure. Yeah. I mean, you stick with that, success will follow, no doubt about it, man. So, in today's crazy world that we're living in, with all the COVID and everything like that, what's some of the big challenges that you're facing as far as, recruiting and everything?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the travel situation is a little bit more difficult, and with limited spectators at every event in the country, right? You fortunately you build relationships and you find ways to pick up the phone and say, hey, can I get in the building and do some recruiting? And been fortunate to still maintain a pretty good travel schedule, and getting out on the road and seeing people. you know we've mentioned relationships a few times, right? I'm definitely not the type of coach that's just going to pick up a bracket or a set of rankings and just start calling people, right? You want to do your research and you want to see people face to face, right? Maybe the biggest challenge, right, is I'm a handshake guy, so the elbows or the fist bumps, and maybe virtual meetings rather than bringing people to campus that are out of state and things like that. But it's been hard. It's been hard. Things are ever changing. So, maybe it's been a little bit harder on my wife, right, to manage raising, 18-month-old twins with a dad that's doing a lot of travel. And, but she's the ultimate coach's wife, and huge support system, and wouldn't be the type of coach I am without the type of wife that I have. She's a superstar.
Well, shout out to your wife Megan there, and she's doing a great job. So what's the next 5 months look like for you?
Yeah, super busy. I think this next segment of the recruiting cycle really kicked off, over the last few days as the high school season here in Michigan has gotten going. So a lot of travel. If you're able to get into those events and state tournaments, not just here in Michigan, but regionally and nationally, and doing a lot of travel throughout the country. And kind of my schedule is crazy until the end of July. I'm away from coaching here at the college. I serve as the national teams coordinator for Michigan USA Wrestling, so really involved with events like cadet duels, junior duels, Fargo, et cetera, and we'll be at all those while still, trying to get out to events like Disney duels. And, I'm heading out to Arizona next week to do some recruiting out there. And, um, so just busy. I mean, but it's just like anything, right? If you want to achieve something, you got to be willing to work for it. And, so the commitment to get out on the road and travel and spend time away from family and maybe make some sacrifices there. I mean, that's what I need to do. And that's what we're going to do. Right. So it's super busy, right now until probably July. And, you hope to be done with this incoming recruiting class, maybe, in the May timeframe, but um, then there's another class of 2022 right behind it. Right. So you start getting going on that and building relationships, but that's what it takes to be successful and do what we need to do. And just like being an athlete, man, I have goals and aspirations that we want to achieve. And so you got to chase it. You got to be willing to put the time in and do it. So that's the lifestyle. You got to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it seems like you're all in, and I think success is going to follow. It seems like you are very driven at everything you do in life. So, Albion's going to be in you guys are in the MIAA, correct?
Yes.
So,
Yep.
so you're going to be wrestling, against Olivet and against Trine. You said you helped out there, and Tommy Hall, a good buddy of mine, is coaching out there, former Olivet guy. What's that going to be like going against those guys?
Yeah. I mean, there's a competitive side of it, right? Like I'd be lying to you if I said different. There's definitely that. I mean, but it's not personal, right? Like it's not me versus them, right? Like Brandon and Tommy, great relationships there. Love them both. I mean, shoot, I recruited Tommy, and love those guys. And so it's not like it's personal. And it's not just them, right? It's, so many guys on that Olivet roster that you build relationships with them and their families, and you love them. Like, I mean, some of those guys, I hope, right, that, and this is your hope as any coach, right, that those relationships last well beyond their time representing a program from a wrestling standpoint. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind from my viewpoint that I hope that a number of those guys are involved in my life, my kids' life, maintain relationships with my wife. And I love those guys, love their families and that kind of stuff. But it's, uh, you know, it, there's a competitive side of it, right? But it's not the personal side, right? It's
Yeah.
not, I just want to beat them because that's where I came from, or I have a relationship with their coaching staff. It's not about that. It's about trying to be the best version of yourself. I mean, will it be challenging? Sure, because I mean, those relationships are not fake, right? Like it's genuine. Like as a coach, right? You try to almost be a peer in that pursuit, right? It's being a coach is a lot like being a parent, right? It's about everyone besides yourself, and um, so you become deeply ingrained in pursuing what those individuals want to achieve. And I still want that for them, right? Even though I'm here representing this program and want to put this program in the best position possible, but so that it will be different, sitting across the mat from them, because we're going to try to beat them.
Yeah.
And that's not unhealthy to me either, right? Like that has to be that way. The guys and girls that are going to represent this program, um, I want the best for those student athletes. I mean, it's my responsibility now to pour everything that I have into those individuals and help them achieve their goals. And um, that's what we'll do. So it'll be different, right? Like, I had an opportunity to go watch the MIAA individual conference tournament, and I found myself squirming in the chair and competing because you just want the best for them.
Yeah.
Next year when we have those matches, I'll be squirming in the chair for the individual wearing purple and gold.
Yeah.
And that's how it has to be. And doesn't mean that, this year with the lack of a championship for those athletes, I mean, I want them to have the best experience possible and go get the next best thing and do that. I want them to achieve. I do, but I want that's if it was different, then it's not very real, right? But
Yeah, absolutely.
does that make sense? Right?
No, no, absolutely. And I was an assistant at Grand Ledge and then got the head coaching gig at Charlotte. And we always wrestle each other because we're close and I got ties there. And um, it's a little different, but and at the same time though, the sport of wrestling just, the love for it just takes over, right? I mean, when your guys are out there, those are your guys and um, you want them to win, but it is a little weird, especially, those first couple years when you're so close with those guys still. And after the match, it's interesting, but yeah, it's something though, like you can't you can't fake and you can't get rid of that relationship with a coach and an athlete. I only wrestled a year at Olivet, but I stuck it out. And, even to this day, the impression that Coach Brissett had on me, we were still close throughout my time there. And I had some life opportunities come up in this last year that, I gave him a call and I was looking for advice and on what to do. And, he's just a great guy that's always been very personable.
Yeah,
So
and I think as coaches, right, if we weren't that way, right, then you wouldn't have those relationships with those student athletes, right? Because you did the same exact thing for them, right? Like you do whatever you can within your power to help them get there. But it's not just we use sport as the platform, right? But how you're saying, right? You hope that when those individuals are starting their adult life or even well into it, when they come into roadblocks, that relationship is so real that they feel really good about calling you and saying, hey, I trust you, right? And what do you think about these situations? And like I said, it's going to be tough. It's going to be different. But uh, it is what it is, right? I mean, I'm a competitor, and I mean, I want to win, right? And um, it's going to be an obligation to what's happening here at Albion College, right? So
yeah. Well, hey Adam, I can't thank you enough, man. I am so excited for you and I can't wait to see what you do there with Albion. And I'm sure we'll stay in touch over the time. And I can't wait to get out and watch you start coaching and seeing what those young men and women can do.
I
So
appreciate it, Corey, and um, thankful to have the opportunity to get on and talk some wrestling with you. I mean, any opportunity that you can to talk wrestling,
absolutely. Yeah.
let's, let's do it, right?
Yeah.
Anytime. So appreciate the opportunity. Hope all is well with you and your family. Tell your dad I said hi, and I mean, he'll probably see this, right? Because I said hi, but
Yeah, yeah, he'll be watching. So hey man, I can't thank you enough. And so this is Adam Wilson, new coach of Albion College in the MIAA Division III, the Britons. So I want to thank him for coming on. And this is episode 7 of Nap Chatter Wrestling with Wilson. Please follow us on all the socials. I can't thank you guys enough. Until next week.